the one song of patriotism that has been created and sung more than any other, and speaks to our generation and younger people and older people and just about everybody, is the song that our buddy Lee Greenwood wrote called God Bless the U.S.A.
You got that right.
I don't think I have ever asked you how you came to write this song.
I was raised in California, and so I'm a little bit different than most of the people raised in the South. My mother and father were divorced when I was a year old because of World War II. She didn't understand him joining the Navy. We lost the men at Pearl Harbor that my father felt compelled to do that. She was left at home raising two young kids. My sister is 3 years older than me. Patricia still lives in California. And so we were shipped up to the farm when things got tough. And I was raised on a farm in Sacramento, California. So we learned things like your handshake is your word. You help your neighbor when he needs help. And we sat on the front porch husking corn. We call it husking out in California, not shucking corn. Like my wife Kim says, no, it's shucking. No, it's husking. And breaking the string bean. I hate to eat a string bean with the strings on it, so we'd always make sense. At the age of 10, 11, 12, I could actually cut the heads off 4 chickens, pick them, and have them in the freezer in about 10 minutes. Whoa. So we were kind of sharecroppers, but we were farmers. And I wish my kids now could grow up like I did, because you learn about the rural parts of the land, I think, that are important and ingrained in your head when you get into city life. When you get into places where you know there's white-collar work and you get away from the standards of just taking care of the earth. My grandparents knew that it was important for me to have faith, and they sent me to the First Baptist Church. And we talk about who in this room might not be in church. I sang in the First, not you, Ray. and I sang in the First Baptist Church in the choir. And let me tell you, that was the most inspiring time of my life, because I learned harmony. I learned how to sing. And the funny part is my voice was so high, I sang with the women. I sang with the sopranos. And it didn't really get lower until into my 20s, when I'm still a soprano, not like Jimmy Fortune, but I will sing, but I'll sing some high notes. But I remember all of that time. I lived right near McClellan and Mayfair Air Force Base in Sacramento, California, and I formed a little band in junior high school and high school called the Apollos, and we would work dances out at the air bases. And my bass player at the time was a member of the Air National Guard in California, and we had to give up a week a month. And I said, that's a heck of a sacrifice, you know, because I can't work for that week. And then after we started playing the dances, and we saw some guys who got wounded and some guys who had to be deployed for a long time, I said, that's really a sacrifice. Well, now, I went to Vegas, and I stayed in the Nevada casinos for almost 20 years. I worked alongside some of the greats. I saw Elvis, of course. I was working in the same hotel with Bill Medley as was my star attraction in the lounge at the Flamingo Hotel, and he was in the main room, Elvis. And I used to sneak in and see his show sometimes, and he did the trilogy. And as I saw the trilogy being performed, I said, boy, if I ever get a chance, I'm going to close my show with the trilogy. Because I said, it says so much. It talks about the roots of America, and with the Alhambra Republic, part of that. And lo and behold, I get a career later. And I end up coming to Nashville, Tennessee, and moved here with a pickup truck and about $100. And started my career at MCA with Reba McEntire, George Strait, the Ogre Boys, and Barbara Mandrell. And we all had similar careers, but kind of different in how our records came. And as I'm touring around the world, around the United States like a crazy man, I ran into these guys called the Gatlin Brothers. And we started chasing them red buses around, you know, like I could hardly catch them with our buses. And one night in between Arkansas and Texas, I sat down and I wrote, God Bless USA. I had a piano in the back of my bus where I toured with the crew. And I put it up on my knees. And I would play with headphones on so I wouldn't disturb anybody in the bus. And I wrote the song one night, and I brought it home. Jerry Crutchfield, my producer, bless his heart, he believed in me and anything I wanted to do. And I think it was our 3rd or 4th album, because we had a platform to deliver whatever I wanted to deliver. And we had like 7 or 8 hits. And so I said, I think I want to do this. I want to write this song. He said, well, I believe in you, and I believe in what you want to do with it. And so we took this song to Los Angeles, and I had the cassette tape in my pocket of it. And we asked to play Halloween night, Solid Gold, and Marilyn McCoo, who was a friend of mine from Vegas with the Fifth Dimension, was hosting the show. And so at the end of the show, I sang one of my country hits. She gives me a bottle of champagne, and that was my gift. And I'm starting to leave. I go out to the limo, and I got about 4 hours till the red eye. Red eye flight out of Los Angeles coming back home. And I looked to my limo driver. I said, where does Irving Azoff live? Irving Azoff was the president of Universal and also controlled all of MCA. Now, MCA Nashville Records was actually a separate part, and we liked to do things on our own. We didn't like to be influenced nor controlled by LA, even though that was the profit center. And so he said, he lives between Neil Diamond and Barbra Streisand in Hollywood. I said, take me there. Wow. Halloween night. Limo pulls up in front of his house. We're on a street. There's no gated community. Cool. 10 yards to his front door. Yeah. He's standing in the front door, and his 3 kids are dressed as bumblebees going out to trick or treat. He looks at the limo, sees it. I get out of the car, and I walk right up to him. He waits till I get right within eye shot, and I take out the tape out of my pocket, and I have the bottle of champagne. What do you think I said?
Trick or treat.
Trick or treat.
Awesome.
Had you met him before? Did he know who you were?
He said, who are you? I said, I'm Lee Greenwood. I'm on your label in Nashville. He said, I've heard your name. Come on in. Halloween night. His kids are trick-or-treating. Come on in the house. So we go in the house. He sticks the tape, cassette tape, sticks it in tape, and he sits there and listens to it all. This is before, no, you had already sang. I had called these guys, the Gatlin brothers sang on the original recording of God Bless the USA, and they were signed to Columbia, and they weren't supposed to do this, and because they're stars, and they snuck in the studio one night and sang background for me on the original recording of God Bless the USA. Larry Gatlin, Steve, and Rudy. And I can't thank you enough for making that
Bless
song.
you, brother. We can't thank you enough for writing it, my friend.
And when we played that tape, and Irving Azoff said, let me see, you know, what we want to do with it. That's just one of the steps along the way, of course. End result is USA was finally released as the single that year, and then a lot of things that followed. The Democrats and Republicans tried to use it politically. I said absolutely not. It was then absolutely used in the president's life film, Ronald Reagan's. Of course, I was a fan of Ronald Reagan's because I worked on his gubernatorial campaign in California, and they never forgot that. And so as we move forward, there were things then that brought God Bless USA more to the forefront, and that is my U.S.A. tours that Aaron and many of us have been on, the Gatlins. Mark Will's been on a lot of those tours. And as Rhonda pointed out, you start singing with soldiers that stand up proudly and sing in a uniform, and they salute you because of who you are and what you do. Yeah, it's a moving moment.
You must have sung that song, no telling how many thousands of times. If you had to pick one moment where you sang that, I know you've sung it at the White House. Where would be the most special moment that Lee Greenwood ever stood on a stage and sang that song?
That's a lot of performances. I'd have to say the opening of the Ronald Reagan Library in Simi Valley, California. When Johnny Grant, the mayor of Hollywood, came to me and said, I want you to sing God Bless USA for 5 presidents and 6 first ladies. It's the only time it'll probably ever happen. Wow. And I was the only one on the podium besides all of them. And so he said, but here's the catch. I want them to stand up because I got 4 Navy jets in Simi Valley going to fly overhead when they all stand up. I said, how am I going to get the president to stand up? No, the presidents to stand up.
Yeah.
And so, and I'd worked with the Reagan campaign, with the Bush campaign. This time, President Bush is president, and President Reagan he's retired already, but it's his day. Now, I know working with Ronald Reagan as an actor, he wouldn't necessarily engage you. He knew how to be aloof. He knew how to make you feel good about himself and go to the next person. George Bush was exactly the opposite. He'll grab you and make you feel like one of the family. So I'm singing along. I got Nixon, Ford, and Carter directly behind me. Reagan and Bush is down to my right, and Lady Bird Johnson down at the end. Wow. And so I'm already overwhelmed. I mean, you know, how many presidents can you salute, you know? And so I'm trying to keep it together. I'm singing, you know, and as I look down, I get to a line of my song that says, I'd gladly stand up next to you. And what I wrote that line for was so all Americans could stand shoulder to shoulder like my father did in World War II and fight for our freedom. And so I look down the line, and I'll be darned if I don't get eye contact with Ronald Reagan. He looks straight at me. And I'm like, I'll gladly stand up you know, and he stands up. I'm like, are you kidding me? And so then Bush stands up because he's his friend and now president. Well, the president stands up, everybody stands. Here comes the 4 jets out of Simi Valley right over the top. It's like, so, and it took me 7 years to get the picture because it was a gaggle of cameras and not one of them would give up that picture. And I finally got the picture. But
Wow.
anyway, that's
Great moment.
What an incredible story. What an incredible song. Sing it for us.
May I? Thank you. Go ahead.
Lee Greenwood.
Go ahead.
Wow.
If tomorrow all the things were gone that worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the U.S.A. From the lakes of Minnesota, I love this part, to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the U.S.A. I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the U.S.A.
Lee Greenwood.